We are going to start talking about the doctrine of hell. During this video, the doctrine of heaven is a much more pleasant topic, but we must also talk about hell. So to begin with, we're going to read from Matthew 25, verses 41 through 46. It says, "Then he will say to those on his left, 'Depart from me, you accursed, into eternal fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me, naked, and you did not clothe me, sick and in prison, and you did not visit me.' Then they will also answer, saying, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison, and did not minister to you?' Then he will say to them, saying, 'Truly I say to you, as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me.' And these will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous into everlasting life." So as I said, we are going to be looking at the doctrine of hell. Here Jesus talks a little bit about that doctrine. Thought we'd give it a definition of hell first. Hell is a real place created by God for his glory, where the devil, his angels, and unregenerate sinners receive everlasting punishment and are eternally separated from the benevolent presence of God. And looking at the doctrine of hell, we're going to look at five things, I think it is. First is going to be location. Second, duration. Third, creation. Fourth, retribution. And fifth, separation. The first is location. In verse 41, Jesus said to those on his left, "Depart from me." Hell is an actual place. It's not a state of being. In the parable of the poor man and the rich man in hell, in Luke 16:28, we read the rich man in hell say, "Lest they also come into this place of torment." Do we know where hell is? No. Does it exist in this plane of existence? I don't think so. It exists in the same realm as heaven. It is a spiritual place, but it is a place nonetheless. People go there. The second thing we want to note about hell is the duration. The duration. When we look back again at verse 41, we note that it says, "Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire, prepared for the devil and his angels." In verse 46, "These will go away into eternal punishment." Eternal. Eternal. The duration is everlasting. In Revelation 14:10 and 11, we read, "Of the one who will also drink the cup of the wine of God's wrath, poured full strength into the cup of his anger, and he will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever. And they have no rest, day or night, these worshipers of the beast and its image, whoever receives the mark of its name." Of course, we understand that at some point in the future, when Jesus returns, the nature of their existence in hell will change, as ours will in our eternal state. Everybody will rise from the grave. Those in hell will receive their bodies as well. What will not change is that they are still in rebellion against God, and they shall receive no reprieve. William Shedd, in his Dogmatic Theology, says this: "This indicates the difference between the intermediate state and the final state of the wicked. On the judgment day, at the command of the incarnate God, Hades, which he calls the intermediate state for the wicked, surrounds its inhabitants that they may be re-embodied. Surrenders its inhabitants that they may be re-embodied and receive their final sentence. And it then becomes Gehenna, which he calls the final state for them. Hell without the body becomes hell with the body. Where did hell come from? This is the idea of creation. Did it always exist? Did the devil create hell, as some mistakenly think? In verse 41, we read, "Depart from me, you cursed, into the everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels." Prepared by who? By whom? God himself. We know that according to Revelation 4:11, that God created all things, and by his will they are created and existed and created. When did God create hell? We cannot be sure. Why did God create hell? That we can be sure of. In a word, retribution. Retribution against sin. See, God created hell as a place to display his wrath and justice against those who are in rebellion against him and have sinned against him, both angels and men. Remember again, verse 41, the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. And then in verse 46, it is the unrighteous who are being sent away into eternal punishment. In Revelation 20:10, we read, "And the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of burning sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet have been thrown. They will be tormented day and night forever and ever." In Luke 16, again, 22 to 24, the parable of the rich man in hell, we see in verses 23, in Hades he is in torment. In verse 24, he asks Lazarus to dip the end of his finger into water and cool his tongue, for he is in anguish in this flame. But let's not forget that this punishment is deserved. We know that not everyone will receive the same level of punishment, but the criteria for that level is not clear. But we get this from one place, from Matthew 11, 21 through 24. "Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the mighty works done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes. But I tell you, it will be more bearable on the day of judgment for Tyre and Sidon than for you. And you, Capernaum, you will be exalted to heaven. You will be brought down to Hades. For if the mighty works done in you had been done in Sodom, it would have remained until this day. But I tell you that it will be more tolerable on the day of judgment for the land of Sodom than for you." The punishment that is described in terms of flames and worms and darkness. Mark 9, 47 through 49, Jesus says, "If your eye causes you to stumble, pluck it out. It is better for you to enter the kingdom of God with one eye than to have two eyes and be thrown into hell, where the worm that eats them will not die, and the fire is not quenched. Everyone will be salted with fire." The worms are described as continually eating at the flesh. The flames are continually burning, yet not consuming them. Is it possible that the flames here are metaphorical? Sure. Matter of fact, I would guess they probably are, but they are probably metaphorical for something far worse than we could ever imagine. Something more torturous. Can you imagine being continually burned alive? If you've ever been burned, it is extremely painful. But to continually be burned and burned and burned and burned and burned without the flame ever stopping and you ever being consumed, so that at some point there's nothing left of you to burn and to hurt? The key word here is torment. And the idea of darkness represents the greatest of all of the torments in hell. And that is separation. Separation from what I will call the benevolent presence of God. Then he will say to those on his left, verse 41 again, "Depart from me, you cursed, in the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels." 1 Thessalonians 1:9 says that they will suffer punishment of eternal destruction away from the presence of the Lord and from the glory of his might. Those in hell are shut out from the presence of the Lord. The New King James at that point reads that they shall be punished with everlasting destruction from the presence of the Lord. This is not to say that God is absent in hell. For we know Psalm 139 verses 7 and 8. "Where shall I go from your spirit? Or where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there." God will be present to those in hell, but not in mercy and grace and love, but in wrath and judgment. Revelation 14:9 and 10. Another angel, a third, followed them, saying with a loud voice, "If anyone worships the beast and its image and receives a mark on its forehead or on its hand, he shall also drink the wine of the cup of God's wrath, poured out full strength into the cup of his anger, and he will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb." They will be tortured forever by the holiness of God and the knowledge that they have missed. They have missed the grace of God. So next time we'll dig a little bit deeper into the doctrine of hell. The Lord be with you. Thanks for watching today. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I want to remind you to like, share, and subscribe. For more information about my ministry as a missionary at large and with Westminster Biblical Missions, you can check out my website at missionaryatlarge.webs.com. You can also find me on Facebook at Howard Sloan, Missionary at Large, or on YouTube, if you haven't found me there already, Howard Sloan, Missionary at Large. For more information about Westminster Biblical Missions or to donate, please go to wbminc.org and you can click on the donate button. Please use the general fund to donate. Thank you.